His next feud starts at SummerSlam. He's supposed to be an enforcer on behalf of Vince and Shane, only to be attacked by Kane as he's making his entrance. So Umaga would feud with Kane for the next 2 months until Umaga wins a loser leaves Raw match on the October 9th episode of Raw, which would get rid of Kane, at least on Raw. So after being separated by different brands, they have one final match at Cyber Sunday where Umaga again beats Kane. Umaga at this point has still not been pinned, and he's deemed the number one contender for the WWE Championship and put in a feud with the champ, John Cena, for the title. And Cena would retain his belt at New Year's Revolution. He pinned Umaga with a roll up, which officially ended his undefeated streak, which I believe lasted 34 televised matches and went all the way from April of 06 to January of 07. He did suffer some losses by DQ and double countouts, but not pinned, not submitted. And then it happens on pay-per-view. That's sort of old school, but I like it. Let's give a guy a streak, give him a world title shot. And if he's going to finally lose, he should lose to the champion. Right, Jim?
Yeah, it wasn't 50-50 booking. It was the deal where I'm sure fans have recognized this for a long time, that, your guy goes over and then he gets beat up. The babyface slips over the heel with an inside cradle or something along those lines, or a roll up, whatever it may be. And then they get the 1, 2, 3, that guy kicks out at 3.5. And then the guy that won the match gets the shit beat out of him. We got to give him something back. I say bullshit on that one. That's uncreative, lazy ass booking. It doesn't kill you to lose.
Right.
It just doesn't. Now, I will say, on the other hand of that, which make me sound hypocritical, that momentum and winning and coming out on the good side, like Umaga did for almost a year, is sensible. Makes a lot of sense. But man, oh man, he had that streak going. He had momentum. Is my point. Momentum is it. So that's important. And even though WWE did not do wins and loss records to any degree, as we do in AEW, which we think makes sense, it makes a logical booking. You can have a cold match if a guy's ranked number 5, this guy's ranked number 3. The everyday Joe can understand 3 versus 5.
Right.
I wish we had some 3 versus 5 matchups in football more often. It's just not the case. But it makes sense in the grand scheme of things. It's understandable. It's transferable. Audience will get it. So, but him getting that momentum's a big thing. That's the key of this whole diatribe. Momentum. And Vince facilitated Umaga getting momentum. And so then Umaga did the rest. He was convincing, and he fulfilled the role that he was outlined to fulfill.
We should mention, for the rest of the month, Armando is going to play down John Cena's victory, claiming it was a fluke. And then they set up a last man standing rematch. It's set for Royal Rumble. And on an episode between the two pay-per-views, Umaga attacks John Cena and causes a quote unquote worked injury to his spleen, and put the match in jeopardy. Of course, this gives John Cena a new wrinkle. He's going to refuse a medical exam because he's concerned that the results of that could cost him to forfeit the title. So he's going to press on without the medical exam and a damaged spleen. He ultimately defeats Umaga at the Royal Rumble after wrapping a loosened ring rope around his neck during an STFU. Boy, this is super creative. A lot of fans still remember this spot. Anytime one of the ring ropes comes loose and is used, it's a pretty rare thing. And to see it used in a submission hold here, it showed that John Cena was willing to do whatever it took to win, and maybe added a more hardened edge to his character. But it also showed what a badass that Umaga was, that, hey, you may have beat him, but you needed to use the ring ropes to choke him to do so.
Yeah, it was a good finish. Very creative. It checked all the boxes. It gave Umaga the proverbial out that seems to be prevalent when booking a match of this nature. You got to maintain. You got to protect the asset, all the while the asset is losing, and that's easily done. That could be facilitated, In this case, as you pointed out, Conrad, it was facilitated by using the ring rope. And the hold itself is STFU is devastating enough, but then when you wrap the ring rope around the guy's neck and all that good stuff, it adds a little bit of drama and a little bit of uniqueness to it. So, and it protected Umaga to a good degree, and that's really largely too up to the announcers. Announcers have got to make sure that they point out that, like you said, even though Cena won, look what it took to get that victory. And this situation could possibly be far from over because Umaga is, he has Cena in his crosshairs. But that was a good deal. And another reason that, he got the big push. At some point in time, you want to get him ready for your top babyface. And in that era, the top babyface was John Cena. So the WWF did a good job of setting the table for that match, and then came up, wouldn't be surprised that wasn't a Pat Patterson finish, and then set that up for that Royal Rumble. So it was a high-profile match, big event, main event, and it just so unique that it worked.
We've got a vote of confidence here from Vince McMahon. Usually it's whoever wins the Royal Rumble or whoever's leaving the Rumble as the champ. They're going to be the people figured in a big way for WrestleMania. Vince doesn't need that for Umaga. He names Umaga his representative for the Battle of the Billionaires with I guess, what would become the President of the United States, Donald Trump, at WrestleMania 13 or 23, amazing. Rather.
Is that amazing or what, Conrad?
It feels make believe. Immediately after choosing Umaga, McMahon grants him a match against the Intercontinental Champion, Jeff Hardy, which he won to take the title. So now Umaga is not only going to be in a prime spot on WrestleMania, he's the Intercontinental Champion, beating Jeff Hardy. And after Bobby Lashley is named as Trump's representative, the two began a feud which even lasts beyond WrestleMania. On the March 12th edition of Raw, The Rock would have a pre-taped promo shown to the arena where he talked about this Trump-McMahon feud, and he endorses Lashley and Trump. And he says Umaga in Samoan actually means shriveled up monkey penis, which is kind of a fun thing.
That's a Brian Gewirtz line. Brian Gewirtz was a MVP boy. I'll tell you that. He helped Rock. He'd get in the Rock's head and feed ideas. And then Dwayne was so creative and processed the information so intelligently that he would expand on Brian's rough ideas and Ryan's jump start. But Brian Gewirtz was a big unsung hero in that era, especially as it relates to Rock, and he still works for Rock.
WrestleMania 23, 80,103 announced fans. Umaga is going to lose the Battle of the Billionaire Hair versus Hair match. He's going to take a stunner from Stone Cold. And of course, because Umaga lost, the stipulation means Vince McMahon has to get his head shaven. This is a pretty memorable moment in WWE history for a lot of reasons. Ultimately, though, why was Umaga the guy for Vince McMahon here?
Well, he was the next thing we had to being unbeatable. McMahon was obviously trying to stack the deck with the baddest dude on the roster. And even though he lost to Bobby Lashley, he lost thanks to Stone Cold, quite frankly. And, but McMahon was just trying to hedge his bets. Good story there. And you talking about reality or you talking about fictionally? Storyline wise, it made a lot of sense. Reality wise, it looked good on the poster. It looked good on it was good booking. I always thought that was a good booking. And it was another thing. We were still committed to Umaga's growth, and him being a key role in this match at WrestleMania was not going to stunt that growth. And the same theory was applicable to Bobby Lashley, because at that time, that era, there was a lot of confidence in that Bobby Lashley was going to be a big star. And, it took a while. He left, blah, 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 came back. And of course, now Bobby's an integral part of what they're doing. So it seems, best of my recollections from watching when I watch. But Bobby's same deal. So both guys got marquee spotlights on at WrestleMania. And like you said, that was a big WrestleMania, 80,000. It drew. They had the Super Bowl at Ford Field that year, and WrestleMania 23 outdrew the Super Bowl. And so, of course, before you tweet me at JRSBBQ, I do know that the field was used for seating at WrestleMania, and of course, the field was used for playing at WrestleMania at Super Bowl. But the number of folks were more in attendance were at WrestleMania 23 than the Super Bowl. Nice little fun fact. You can doctor it up any way you want, but it was a hell of a house, as the old timers say.